There are hundreds of different ramen all over the world. Miso ramen, shoyu ramen, ramyeon ramen, sukemen ramen, and many, many more. But this is flying ramen. But why does it fly? Meet Christopher, proprietor of one of the most unique ramen joints in Berlin. He's mastering the Japanese craft of ramen from the comfort of his flat.
First time I ever had ramen was as instant ramen in high school. Didn't really look like a lot, but then when I tasted it for the first time, it really blew my mind immediately, even though it was just this plain instant ramen in that case, but it was really something I'd never tasted before.
In 2006, Christopher traveled to Japan as a student and got his first taste of authentic Japanese ramen.
It was really like I imagined it to be, extremely flavorful and surprising at the same time, which kind of impressed me so much that I always dreamt of cooking ramen myself.
Obsessed with all things Japanese cuisine, Christopher spent the next 20 years eating, cooking, and developing his own ramen recipes.
Because I had like a social media account, Instagram account, for which I documented how I cooked Japanese style and often experimented with different ramen recipes, documenting how I was cooking each component and how it tasted.
Then in 2020, COVID hit the world.
I couldn't work in my main job, so I had a lot of time and people were asking me whether they could have a taste of my ramen. And since I'm living in the second floor and I didn't want anyone to walk through our building, I had the idea of using a red bucket to lower it from my living room to the customers waiting downstairs at the pavement. The inspiration for the red bucket actually came from a very famous ramen shop in Fukuoka, Japan, who uses a blue bucket as a sign outside of the door to show whenever it's out, the ramen shop is open. The bucket is red since I wanted to buy a blue one, but the shop nearby only had a red one, so...
That's simple.
Yeah.
Praised for his mix of German and Japanese flavors, Christopher's ramen became loved by German foodies. So much so, he has launched Food Technique Berlin, which sells pre-packed ramen kits that ship worldwide for you to make at home.
The Japanese ramen differs from the one that I have from the ingredients used, so it's mostly using a lot of different dried fish that you rarely find outside of Japan. So it's niboshi, dried sardines, and since it's mostly made with this type of ingredient, it really was something which I wanted to bring to Germany to let other people taste it.
How do you begin to make your ramen, Christopher?
First step when making ramen is the noodles, because they need the longest and I like to age them for 2 to 3 days, which makes them a bit better from the texture side. The second step is the soup, which I make, which takes roughly a day. And then the freshest and the last ingredients that I prepare are the toppings, which are the ones that you find on top of the ramen, so the meat, the egg, and the different types of vegetables, onions for instance. My favorite ramen variety is mostly made with chicken bones and pork bones, and since I love seafood I also add mussels, which is like this double broth which is also often used in Japan and which you rarely find in Germany. Making ramen really takes quite a long time, so often 4 to 5 days. It's quite a smelly business, so my neighbors and my family were quite happy when I started to move certain steps to an outside kitchen.
Will you keep the red bucket now that the pandemic is over?
I still love using the red bucket since it's exciting to see how happy it makes the customers, and it's kind of what I enjoy most. And then it's also a good way to interact with the customers, asking them for feedback. So it really has become a key cornerstone of the whole ramen business that I'm running. I cannot imagine getting bored of ramen. There are so many new varieties I don't know about yet even, and so many new techniques I could learn. And ramen is such a simple dish, but using those techniques to make those different components a little bit better makes the whole thing that exciting.